And Seth, that's most of the summer crops. Cotton, on the other hand, it's been a good year for cotton.
Yeah, it's particularly irrigated cotton. So we had a pretty wet start to the year, which was the opposite of what we saw last year. So most cotton got off to a fairly good start. And then in July, we really started to feel that normal summer heat and even some sort of abnormal summer heat. So for the irrigated crop, if you have enough water to keep up with it, that was really good conditions. So we had the heat units to kind of make up for some of the ground that we talked about we lost early. And so we've actually had a pretty good fruit load develop and very little fruit shed, which is kind of a sign of stress in the plant. Dry land, on the other hand, has definitely been through a little bit of stress, particularly heat stress with the recent temperatures and low rainfall. So we have seen some of the dry land crops sort of start to bloom out the top, and in cotton that kind of means you're done blooming. A little bit premature for dry land. That's mostly the earlier planted crop. Later planted started to see a little bit of fruit abortion, but with the recent rains we've had, we've sort of staved some of that off. So hopefully we'll retain more of that fruit than we were thinking we would with the recent rain.
How are we with the insects? That's always a touchy subject as we move further into the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we never get comfortable.
Right.
I'll say we've had maybe some minor hot spots of certain things flare up. We've started seeing some areas of stink bug pressure, and those will feed on your young bulbs, your young fruit. And the problem with stink bugs is the way they feed, they leave a wound in the fruit, and so that can be a way for disease to get into the plant.
Years past, we've always had problems with heat units. This year, it sounds like we're right on target with it.
Yeah,
we're close to it.
Yeah, we're close. We're still a little, and we talked, I guess, in May about, we were a little behind. So we've made up some ground. I always caution about when we look at heat units, if we don't have a max cutoff, if we're given 105 degree a day, 105 degree credit, we're going to make up some heat units, but none of our crops, especially cotton, really like to be 105.
Right.
So if we're in the mid to high 90s, great, and there's no water stress. If we're 105, especially prolonged, high temperatures in that range, it probably is not getting us the benefit that the heat unit calculation is going to show that we're getting.
Right.
So we probably made up some ground on the heat units. We probably had a little bit more heat stress though as well. So it's sort of a balancing act.
As we move through closer to harvest, what should producers be thinking about as far as terminating the crop later on?
Yeah, so I think early on we really were worried we were going to have a pretty immature crop going into September, and we still may in some places that had to replant late. But I think the main thing to be is to be timely with our applications. We always talk about those benchmarks we want to see before we make a harvest date application. Whether it's 4 nodes of uppermost cracked bowl or 60% open. So those are there for a reason.
Right.
We tend to maybe like to push it a little bit, but getting out our products at that growth stage not only is going to give us a more timely ability to get in the field for harvest, it's also going to take advantage of the warmer weather we have earlier in the fall, and all of our harvest aid products work better under warmer conditions. So just being timely is the main thing.
What do you say to those producers that their cotton was stuck in the field last year after all that rain, that they didn't take advantage of the opportunities to maybe get out and do a little bit of an earlier harvest to get the cotton out, but got rained in?
Yeah, last year was tough because of the rain. You really didn't want to pull the trigger too early because you were hoping to kind of still make some of that crop up in the late fall, and we just never caught a break. And so hopefully we don't run into that situation again this year. It's kind of tough to tell, but we never want to get too ahead of ourselves on harvest days. We want to be able to kind of keep ourselves in line with our harvest equipment, whether we're picking or stripping. We don't want to get too far ahead of that because we can set ourselves up for some fiber quality losses and perhaps some regrowth if we go too far out ahead of our harvesting with our harvest aids. But at the same time, I still think, keeping in mind, understanding the crop growth stage, understanding what, we actually can realistically harvest on the plant, and not trying to wait for every single bowl on the plant to open is probably the best strategy.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Seth Byrd, Extension Cotton Specialist here at Oklahoma State University.